semua, saya Putri Awani, host webinar Drypers Fit into Parenthood Masterclass pada hari ini. Kepada parents-parents out there yang baru nak jadi parents, yang dapat pengalaman ataupun yang masih merancang, kami ucapkan selamat datang dan terima kasih sebab setia bersama kami. Dan hari ini, episod kali ini kita akan membincangkan mengenai psikologi kanak-kanak dengan pakar developmental psychologist iaitu Sebelah Eng. Selamat datang.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Sama-sama juga. Jadi, pada hari ini, Sebelah merupakan co-founder Remind Psychology Center yang mempunyai kepakaran dalam bidang kesihatan mental kanak-kanak, perkembangan kanak-kanak dan keluarga. Jadi, topik pada hari ini iaitu mindful parenting. Wow, awesome topik kita pada hari ini kan. So, kita nak tahu lebih lanjut, apakah mengenai topik kita pada hari ini. Boleh tak Sebelah terangkan?
Yes, thank you so much for introducing me. Mindful parenting actually extends these aspects of mindfulness by creating an environment for our child as parents so that we're able to respond to our child's needs rather than react to them emotionally. So it's not so much about indulging in our children, nor is it about sunshine and smiles all the time, especially when our child's behavior needs correcting. But it's about us parents taking that step back to regulate our emotions first, especially when we feel angry and frustrated. And with that, to help parents remember, we're going to talk about the 3 A's of mindful parenting. The first A is about awareness, and it really extends to us as parents being emotionally aware of what we are feeling in that moment. But in mindful parenting, it requires us to take a step back, to be aware that we are actually angry and be able to calm ourselves first before we attend to our child. A lot of times when children scream or throw a tantrum and they start thrashing on the floor, it's not because they want to make our lives hard or they purposely want to cry and cause all this chaos, but it's actually because they don't have the language to tell us that they're feeling angry or frustrated. That's why they just cry and they react to their own emotions. Sometimes we as parents, we have tunnel vision, right? We only focus on the big things, right? What's in front of us. But sometimes we neglect the little details around us. But to be emotionally aware as a mindful parent is to also take into account all these little details, especially that has to do with our child's development and behavior. So the second A is about being attentive as parents. It stands for attention. It's important that we learn how to listen attentively to our child, and that also means that we try to be more empathetic by putting ourselves in their shoes and seeing from their little perspective. So it also commands for compassion, but also being compassionate to ourselves as parents so that we don't blame ourselves when things don't go the way that we'd hoped for.
Korang pun as a parents dekat luar sana kena selalu bagi attention dekat anak kita walaupun diorang busy main, kita busy buat kerja. So check diaper dia sama ada kena tukar dah ke, tak kena tukar lagi ke, sebab kita dekat Drypers ada leakage indicator, sangat mudah untuk check keadaan lampin anak kita. So kita nak tahu apa A yang seterusnya.
The last and final A stands for acceptance. Being mindful parents at that, we are to manage our expectations that we set for our children. And, of course, without practicing any judgment towards our feelings and that of our children. So, for example, I have a 2-year-old son. And sometimes, even though I am in this field, I tend to also expect him to be able to sit longer, right? Especially when I have to work from home. Then I expect him to, just entertain yourself. You have so many toys. But developmentally, for a 2-year-old to sit still by himself for more than 10 minutes is asking a lot out of them. So they're just not developmentally capable to do that, and I as a parent have to manage my expectations and be willing to also accept their developmental milestones. Perhaps Putri, you also have your experience.
Macam baby Putri dah setahun, dia masih belum boleh berjalan. So Putri kena terima seadanya. Maybe dia lambat sikit kan. Tak apalah, baru setahun kan.
Of course, like you said, sometimes it's about accepting the fact that perhaps they are not ready to walk yet or to even speak yet, but they will get there at their own time eventually, right?
Thank you so much Sebella sebab sudi luangkan masa hari ini, share 3A dengan kami sebab kami penonton tak tahu apa itu 3A dan juga topik kita yang very awesome, mindful parenting. Dan hari ini untuk penonton kesayangan Drypers webinar, kita ada promo code untuk korang. So korang boleh dapatkan dekat Vindamall sahaja. Okay, Vindamall just letak kod VMALL di www.d10, dapatkan sekarang dekat Vindamall. Dan hari ini kita ada 2 soalan daripada penonton yang kita pilih. Jom kita tengok soalan. Oh, nice questions. Are you ready nak jawab soalan? Okay, soalan yang pertama. When my toddler says no to everything, what does it mean?
Thank you so much for that question. It's a very common phase that a lot of toddlers go through. In fact, my son is also in that stage now where he says no to pretty much everything. And I would say that it's actually a very developmentally appropriate phase that they go through. It's normal. It's just a phase. So again, it's also about accepting the fact that this might be a phase that will pass. But of course, sometimes, it's important that we respect our little one's no's, so that in the future it would also then allow them to respect other people's no's. But at the same time, in this phase, it's also about redirecting their actions. So sometimes, if you know that they mean yes, you can actually also remind them or redirect them that, oh, actually, you really want that toy. And then they say no. They say, oh, I think you mean yes. You actually want to play with that toy.
Soalan yang seterusnya daripada penonton kita, kenapa anak saya selalu buat benda yang saya tak bagi dia buat? Lagi saya cakap jangan, lagi dia buat. Adakah anak saya menguji saya?
It's also another, I would say, a common phase that a lot of toddlers go through. It's not that they are evil, evil children that's purposely doing this to tick you off. Right? But it's actually because they are going through a phase where they are testing boundaries. It's also another aspect of or part of their development. It's also another milestone because it then shows that they are very curious and they are learning. But otherwise, it's also being patient, being aware that developmentally they are also trying to be independent as little children. So it's also ensuring that we give them the attention that they need, but correcting their behaviours when we need to.
Thank you Sabella sebab sudi jawab soalan penonton dekat rumah tadi. Dan sekarang soalan untuk anda di rumah pula. Okey, soalannya adalah apakah contoh 3A dalam mindful parenting? So anda boleh komen di ruangan komen di bawah, jawab soalan di bawah dan anda akan berpeluang memenangi Drypers hamper daripada Drypers. Dan setakat ini sahaja. Kita dah sampai di penghujung rancangan dah. Terima kasih Sabella sebab sudi luangkan masa dengan kita pada hari ini dan kita akan bertemu lagi pada next webinar yang akan datang bersama saya Putri Awani, hos anda pada hari ini. Bye-bye.
Bye.